Do I need to pay for my child's braces after divorce? We won't keep you in suspense. It's not a foregone conclusion in Utah that parents must share the cost of cosmetic orthodontia, or braces. When a couple divorces, the controlling decree of divorce is required to cover many topics, including out-of-pocket medical and dental expenses. Utah law requires divorced parents to share equally all reasonable and necessary, uninsured, and unreimbursed medical and dental expenses for their children. But that raises the question, what is reasonable and necessary? There can be no argument that orthodontia expenses needed to prevent and relieve pain or to address a serious health or safety issue should be divided equally between the parents. But when a child doesn't have a medical or dental necessity for orthodontics and would simply like to have a prettier smile, what then? There is no easy answer. Courts across the United States have ruled and will likely to continue to rule both ways on this issue. An Alabama court ordered that a parent may be required to pay for orthodontic treatment if it's in the best interest of the child. Conversely, a New York court found that a parent didn't have to pay for orthodontic work if the record failed to establish the necessity for and nature and extent of the orthodontic work done. Alabama and New York case law may be interesting, but what do Utah courts have to say on the subject of orthodontia? There are no appellate cases on this issue at this time in Utah, so it's hard to state precisely what a Utah court would do. However, we know, based upon general principles of family law and from other appellate opinions on similar subjects, that courts have broad discretion in determining medical and dental expenses when they are considered reasonable and necessary. To argue that a child needs braces because it will make the child look better or feel better about him or herself should be a losing argument. The best interest of the child does not include having the child look his or her best. If it's not a matter of life and death or chronic pain, cosmetic orthodontia is just simply not a necessity. There are limits to what the best interest of the child can cover. Ultimately, the key to making sure an issue such as orthodontia is clearly addressed and resolved is to ensure first that the issue is raised and that it is clearly and exhaustively defined in the court's final order before the question of who pays for orthodontia arises. The more detail in the decree, the better. A decree that is short on detail is short on protection. It will come back to haunt you. You want your divorce to be final and conclusive as to something like braces for kids so that you aren't returning to court again and again over vague and incomplete rulings. Do not wait and leave it up to the court to decide what is necessary, what is reasonable. If you agree to split the cost of cosmetic orthodontia, include that agreement in your decree of divorce. If you do not agree to these costs, then be prepared to argue the matter in court. It's not a foregone conclusion that parents must share the costs of cosmetic orthodontia if you know the law.